Warning! This video contains spoilers for Batman v Superman, Justice League 2017, the death of Superman 1992, the death of Superman 2018, and the reign of Superman 2019. On September 8th, 1973, ABC aired Hanna-Barbera's rendition of the DC Universe, the Super Friends.
Let's try one of the entertainment channels.
La dolce pizza, il multi-succuti, prego.
That cowboy is singing opera. Try the opera channel.
I was working on a railroad gang, swinging a hammer to and fro. I looked up to watch that sunset, oh ding dang, I brought that hammer right down on my toe.
The show had a rough start, but over the years the show developed into what we know it to be today. It became a staple of children's programming and pop culture over its 13-year run of 9 seasons consisting of 109 episodes. It was a hit at the time, but the show today is considered silly and not great. While that may mostly be true, there is a very strong and less well-known exception to that belief. The very last season of the Super Friends. The last season ditched the Super Friends name and rebranded as the Superpowers Team Galactic Guardians. No. Not that Galactic Guardians. This one.
That was quite unnecessary, Wonder Woman. By the time help arrives, you'll be far, far away.
Hands off, Colonel Trevor. Or should I say, Dark Side?
Very good, Batman.
The series ran for 10 episodes from September 7th, 1985 to September 6th, 1986. The last season still had some of the show's classic silliness and some episodes and circumstances, but overall it was more dramatic. It certainly did not reach the dramatic heights of Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Teen Titans, or DC cartoons today. But for the time and compared to its predecessors, it was a fairly serious cartoon. It's also a fairly enjoyable one, with surprising amounts of great art direction and great writing. Which is surprising since Hanna-Barbera made it. Yeah. Hanna-Barbera, you know, Flintstones, Top Cat, Scooby-Doo, they were not exactly known for their great art direction or great animation. They're known for their good writing and good characters, but Hanna-Barbera tends to not be as great as people remember a lot of the time. What's surprising is that, given the time that this cartoon was aired and produced, is that it's a fairly dark show. Some episodes focus on the loss of loved ones, and in the ending of one episode, Darkseid almost succeeds in the genocide of an alien race. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. This cartoon predicted or inspired several things that DC has done in the past 30 years. But DC has used things from those Super Friends before, like the Wonder Twins, Wonder Dog, Wendy and Mervyn, and the Hall of Justice. Yes, but this is different. There are ideas and concepts that were first introduced in this season. Ideas like the death of Bruce Wayne's parents. While this has been Batman's origin since Detective Comics issue 39 in 1939, this was the first time it had been shown on screen. Adaptations of Batman before then were mostly on television, and since TV had strict rules on what could be shown, the origin could never be shown. That was before September 28th, 1985, when the episode The Fear aired. With some smart writing and some amazing art direction, the episode officially debuted the first adaptation of the Wayne's death. The role of Batman in that episode and the last 2 seasons of Super Friends was performed by Adam West of, well, Batman fame. he gives a powerful performance for a role that before then was seen as hokey and campy.
And so I found myself alone in the world. A boy who secretly screamed for justice.
It's time to go home, Master Bruce.
From that day forward, I vowed to avenge my parents' fate by devoting my life to fighting crime. I worked hard at it, building my body, pushing myself to the limit. And I studied, too, countless hours. I learned that criminals are a cowardly lot, which gave me the idea to wear a disguise that would strike fear in their hearts. But what disguise? And then the answer came to me, like an omen. And so I became Batman, the man with no fear.
Way to prove them wrong, Mr. West. Speaking of death, let's talk about Superman's death. Yep, that's right. This was not the first time Superman died, but it was before the famous death of Superman in 1992. A story that has a lot of similarities to this one, except for how he dies. Ooh, yeah, I don't think that would fly at the time. Let's see, you have the black armbands that were worn by many, many, many characters after the death. They even have the Superman logos on the bands. Then there's the reporters covering the death, the civilians and superheroes at the funeral, and the JLA carrying the casket. Oh, and do you know how Superman survives his death? That's right, a coma! Just like in 1992. Some things never change. But that's not it for things this episode has predicted. Let's move from 1992 to 2017, where the DCEU's Justice League resides. In that film, the death of Superman causes an invasion from Apocalypse, the Justice League revives Superman at their darkest hour, and the return of Superman stops the invasion from Apocalypse. In Galactic Guardians, the death of Superman causes an invasion from Apocalypse, the Superpowers team revives Superman at their darkest hour, and the return of Superman stops the invasion from Apocalypse. Yeah, weird. It gets even weirder. In 2018's Death of Superman and 2019's Reign of the Supermen, the death of Superman causes Apocalypse to attempt an invasion on Earth, but the return of Superman stops the invasion. Maybe the writers of these deaths and returns of Superman were inspired by the death and return in this episode. In fact, some writers have been directly inspired by this show, like Jeff Johns. While I haven't found any evidence of him saying he watched the Galactic Guardians season, I have found his love and admiration for the Super Friends as a whole.
You know, there's so much exciting things going on here. You can buy anything.
Yeah.
I'll buy whatever they're selling me because it's fun.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean,
You can't take it too seriously because it's a cartoon about comic book characters,
right?
Good guys and bad guys fighting for control of the Earth,
right? But they're doing the right thing. I mean, that's the important message. Is not just
doing the right thing.
That you do the right thing.
Yeah, the message is
to do.
Yeah, the message is not you can't survive in space.
No, exactly. The message is
teamwork.
The message is teamwork,
yes.
And the message is do the right thing.
The reason I bring up Jeff Johns is his work in the New 52, specifically Justice League Origin. Justice League Origin was unsurprisingly the origin of not only that version of the Justice League, but also the origin and introduction of New 52 Cyborg. That introduction has a lot in common with the episode The Seeds of Doom. In both the episode and the comic, Cyborg becomes involved with the Justice League because of an attempted invasion by Apocalypse. The Apocalypse invasion is carried out through sending parademons ahead of Darkseid to plant items for the invasion. In the comic, it's portals, and in the episode, it's seeds. You get it? Seeds of Doom? Did I mention this show was unfamiliar with the art of subtlety? Anyways, some things in this episode are in other adaptations of Justice League Origin, like Justice League War and the DCEU's Justice League. In these stories, Cyborg befriends the youngest member of the team. In the Super Friends, it's Firestorm, in Justice League, it's Flash, and in War, it's Shazam. In Justice League, Cyborg initially refuses membership because he just wants to have a normal life, just like the Super Friends episode. Finally, there's Cyborg being a huge key in thwarting the invasion through the use of his tech in Super Friends, Justice League Origin, Justice League War, and Justice League. Then there's the Royal Flush Gang in the episode The Wild Cards. They have a good amount of similarities with the DCAU version of the Royal Flush Gang. The Joker creates the Royal Flush Gang. Also in both episodes, Jack takes out Batman, seemingly, and the Queen takes out the member who can create anything out of nothing. That's probably just a coincidence. Then there's Batman Beyond's Royal Flush Gang. This team wasn't created by Joker or Darkseid, but does have a redemption arc for 10.
Drop him.
What?
You can't do that.
Of course I can. You heard what I said. Drop him. Sorry, Gramps. Don't ever argue with me again.
What are you gonna do? Watch. Glorious!
Amazing.
Hey, this is getting pretty heavy.
10 leaving the gang is foreshadowed several times, albeit more in Batman Beyond because there were more Royal Flush Gang episodes in that series. In both series, 10 realizes that her family doesn't treat her as such, only as an accomplice.
How could you do this to me?
Melanie, listen. Your mother and I love you very much.
But we needed to make sure you loved us.
You don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have done this to me. You were afraid I'd leave the gang. That's what it was. All I've ever been to you is an accomplice, never a daughter. I just wish it hadn't taken me so long to realize it.
Ace, what are we doing here? I'm scared of this guy, Darkseid.
You've nothing to fear as long as you obey him.
Well, you can count me out. We're way over our heads on this one.
Don't be a fool, girl. We've hit the big time.
So she betrays the gang after realizing the error of her ways, as well as her family's ways. This one is more likely to have been inspired by this season, since Allard Burnett wrote the episode and co-developed, co-produced, and co-wrote Batman Beyond. Who knew the last season of Super Friends was either very influential or very good at predicting things? Not me, that's for sure.
Batman! Scarecrow's getting away. Batman? Batman, are you okay? Batman!
Would you look at all those jewels? Forget the jewels, pea-brain. That's not why we're here. But can't we do a little shopping till Batman arrives?
Where's Batman?